I remember when someone asked me if I listened to Logic, and I said, of course, that and reason. No, I'm talking about the young Sinatra spittin' Maryland native who promotes peace, love, and positivity for everybody. Oh, yeah. See, I remember getting Logic recommended to me because I was listening to a lot of Chris Webby, so I was cool with all the nerdy references, all of the clever wordplay and stuff that happened, so I was listening mostly to his mixtapes, and I thought, hey, guy's pretty good. But then the more I listened to the dude, the more I heard this.
Push a bit, little bit, roll it up, take a hit.
Push a bit, little bit, roll it up, take a hit.
We blowing up like spontaneous human combustion.
And now we blowing up like spontaneous human combustion.
Wonder if you're bending over backwards for someone else.
And a bunch of other shit I shouldn't mention, cause she got daddy issues for days. David Blaine, living a dream like I'm David Ames. Talk all you want, we are not the same. Step in a spot that ain't know the name. So
now, don't get me wrong. I know that rap samples more than an elderly person at a Sam's Club. I get that. My question really is at what point is it inspiration and at what point is it straight up jacking? In my opinion, I think everything is influenced, right? Every time we talk about movies or books, they always talk about how there's only really 7 stories, and it's just a remake of that, right? In music, it's just rearranging the same notes that are out there. There's no new notes. It's just rearranging and doing something different with it. So it's all about execution, in my opinion. How can you take something and make it your own, or just become a copycat? For example, you can look at all of the very clever biracial jokes that you see in every comment section of a Logic video. Or an even better example would be the American filmmaker Quentin Tarantino. Now, some would argue that he's like a bloodier version of Shia LaBeouf, that he's that kid in high school who would look over and copy your answers from the test and then claim them as his own. But then to other people, he's the guy who's causing the influence. So it's super interesting to see that, he's admitted it himself to taking literal shots and copying them. And yet, when anyone does that style, it's considered the Tarantino style.
Elements of his trademark style are referred to as Quentinisms. Fans of his works call themselves Tarantino-philes or Quentinites. Experts reserve the term Quentinologists. Even after filming a particularly bloody scene, directors have been heard saying, "We went full Tarantino today."
So it's undeniable that he's been inspired, maybe a little bit too much to some, but he's made it his own, in my opinion. The way that he writes his characters, the way that he sets up these worlds, even if he's being influenced, right? And he wears those influences on his sleeve, and he's become an inspiration to other people who are not just filmmakers, but even someone that we've been talking about known as Logic and his Bobby Tarantino mixtapes.
This one says Kill Bill, which is Tarantino, and one of my favorite movies that inspired me. And through that film, I discovered the RZA, who did the soundtrack, which inherently then I discovered Wu-Tang Clan, and then through that, hip-hop.
Now, I'll be honest. I think he kind of cuts the inspiration thing close. Like, there's a bunch of remixes to a lot of songs, things that use similar instrumentals, but he sometimes, I feel, kind of like really gets inspired and just takes it. But, and I know this because, trust me, I've made other videos on other rappers, and I have come to the realization that the definition of a fan means that you can never criticize the person that you like. Like, if your favorite artist was about to walk off a cliff, you're not allowed to tell them that they're wrong, that they're about to die, because you might insult their feelings. If you're a fan, then you must worship the artist because they're perfect. So if I were to look at it from a positive perspective, I'll say these 3 things. 1, everything's already stolen. Like, in the Bobby Tarantino mixtape, there was one of the songs that a lot of people were saying was very Travis Scott-esque. And the idea with that is that Travis Scott himself at one point was called an A$AP Rocky clone, right? There was a point where a lot of people were complaining about his autotune, saying that he was just taking T-Pain's style and making it his own, which is exactly what he did, right? Like, at this point, I don't think a lot of people are complaining about him being the copycat anymore. They're saying he's the one being copied. There's that Travis Scott effect because he's created his own style.
Auto-tune my shit and put them Travis Scott effects on my shit.
I look at the drums on Amazing, which is the first time that I noticed that Logic gets very influenced. He especially loves Kanye. But what I noticed, when you really look into it, is that Kanye himself with a lot of the samples that he does. A lot of the samples that he does. You look into it, and Kanye and his producer got those drums from tribal percussions. So everything is inspired from something. So that's where I go to 2, where at least I'll give him credit because Logic gives credit. I feel like Logic is that dude that, he's a fan of music. He studies music just like Tarantino studies film. He sees himself as a student of film before he sees himself as a director, and there's no doubt that Logic is probably that guy. He ain't stealing. He's like going to people's houses, knocking, going like, hey, you want to listen to this mixtape? So I can't see it as straight up jacking because, well, a thief wouldn't ask permission before he takes your stuff. Number 3, it opens doors. I'm a film dude, right? So in the film universe, there's always that disdain for remakes, for sequels, for like adaptations, especially when they go bad, because people think that the like original source material is just going to disappear. I understand that it's going to still be there, right? And I get the fact that statistically, a lot of remake sequels and stuff, they're straight up garbage. They're trash. But a lot of them are great. Right? Like The Dark Knight, a lot of people didn't want that to be a thing and they thought it was going to be a horrible adaptation for the Joker. It's a classic. A lot of franchises that have been adapted, a lot of sequels, a lot of remakes that have come from foreign countries are considered some of the best films out there. And you could even look at The Godfather 2, which is far superior than The Godfather 1, and that is a sequel. Those are facts. It has been decided. But I think one of the biggest factors to remakes sampling is that a lot of people don't know the source material. So when someone is bringing it to their attention, this is the first time they're learning about it and maybe might dive into that world.
I started listening to his mixtapes and like seeing what he sampled. So like I always knew who the Roots were. I always heard about Tribe and stuff, but like he's the reason why I started actually listening to it.
That's why I believe there's an art to stealing, because whatever you're taking, whatever you're being influenced by somebody else, they also got influenced by. All about execution. How do you make it your own? How do you not become those one-hit wonders, those people who are clearly clones and they don't have a voice of their own, and that's why you never hear from them again? We've heard from Logic because whether you like him or not, at least he's been doing something of his own, right? I am not the biggest fan of Everybody. I don't really like that album. I do think sometimes he gets a little cringy. I think he flexes a lot and then says,
Not to flex.
Not to flex.
I don't flex to be acknowledged.
But I will say, Bobby Tarantino 2 is freaking fantastic. I still think he takes it back, way back a little bit too many times. But, I mean, I think it's probably his best mixtape. I still gotta ask the question, though. If he's being so influenced, and you can tell right away what he's being influenced by, at what point will Logic himself be the influencer? If he's always being influenced. I mean, there's cover bands out there who still make a good living. There's people on YouTube who just rely on covers. So considering that he's getting inspired by things that are, pretty modern as well, at what point are you liking the original source material and not what Logic is bringing to the table? And it's not to say that he doesn't. I know a lot of people always push that K-Love, peace, love, and positivity thing and say that that's what he is doing to spread his message. That is his influence. And I'll be completely honest, right? I don't think we're all created equal. Because when you look at Michael B. Jordan, he is clearly superior than all of us. But honestly, it's different in this specific genre of rap, because this is the genre where everybody claims.
Because all I've done is consumed myself in the craft. And I think that's in no way, I think that's why I'm the greatest at what I do.
Now that's where it gets tricky, right? Because how can you say you're number one? You did it all by yourself. It's all you when you're dealing with hand-me-downs. That's like someone ordering takeout, and because they rearranged it, they can now call themselves one of the best chefs. Again, I respect Logic and his hustle, even though, you get that little, that gut feeling that you get when you go to a party and someone's wearing the exact same shirt you're wearing? I get that whenever I hear a song that sounds very eerily similar to another song that I love, but there's no doubt that he's still creating his own lane. There's no doubt that this man has made it far. There's no doubt that that message that he's pushing out there is become a big deal. There's no doubt that that young Sinatra flow, which I believe is the best flow that he has, can be influential. That those Easter eggs and the time that he puts into his artwork, into the music, that space opera story that he's trying to tell, are all things that'll set him apart, right? Because overall, that is the art to stealing. When you're able to take something and make it your own. And everyone does it. From movies to YouTubers to your grandma when she decided to name your parents. But again, it's all about how you're able to take that and make it your own. Because once you've made something that's worthy of being stolen itself, then I think you've made it. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I know that there's probably going to be some Rat Pack members who didn't really listen to the video, but I'm curious to know your thoughts. What's your favorite Logic song? In your opinion, what is that separation between inspiration and then just straight up stealing? And who are the artists who you think do it the best? We can discuss it down below in the comments section. If you're also interested, you can head on over to the A to Z Show Patreon. We have another discussion coming up. It's going to be like a live Q&A stream. You can be on there as well as we talk about Logic or any other rappers or any other stuff from the week in the A to Z Show. It's, again, just $1 a month. You can head on over there and we can all take it back. Way back.